question that I often get asked, and one that is I think a pretty good one is just people say, so how do I get started? If I want to start telling more stories, I want to get a little better with the storytelling thing, how do I do that? And to me, there's a couple of things that everybody can do that don't take a ton of effort. The first one is to just get into the habit of thinking of a story as a real life example that you use to make a point. So it doesn't matter if it's a presentation, doesn't matter if it's a social media post or something you're explaining to people during training or in a meeting at work. If you have something to explain to them, have you got any examples? And if you have any examples, can you just start with the example and then go into more detail about the thing you're trying to explain? Because if you're doing that, you're essentially storytelling. Okay? There's more to it than that, but this is the process that most people use when you're doing a presentation. You start with a story, and then that story is helping you lay out what the problem is, or what the challenge the company is facing, or what is the thing that you learned over the last year. And then you go into more facts and figures and however else you're explaining or you're substantiating your point. So that's the first thing, is think of stories as a real life example that makes a point, and when you have to explain something to someone, start with the story, with the example, and then you explain whatever, with normal sentences.
You need to, right?
Yes.
Whatever you need to explain to them.
Yeah, the other thing I was mentioning is that the problem most people have with stories, with telling stories, is they don't have the stories, or at least they think they don't have the stories. And that's because, if you ask me, tell me a story right now, I'm going to go, well, a story about what? Well, if you give me a topic, maybe something will come to mind straight away. Maybe it won't, because that's not how the brain works. So what people need to do is they need to become used to collecting stories, or not necessarily stories, but things that happen to them. Like if at the end of the day you just ask yourself, did I see anything today that was strange or funny, or did I learn anything? Did I read any interesting stories in a book, or see them on the news or in a documentary? And even if you did that a few times a week, you probably put down 1 or 2 or 3 things. And the next thing you know, you have 20 or 30 things that you heard that were interesting, that if they're not a story already, they could be developed into a story. So the next time you have a presentation, you say, okay, I want to put something from my personal experience here. You can ask yourself, okay, have I ever done this before? Have I lived through this before? Have I experienced something similar? And if you haven't, then go to your list and go, there was this thing that happened a few weeks ago, and I think this actually would be an interesting example to use here. And that's the bit most people don't do. They don't have a story bank, a list of things that could be stories, and then whenever they have to use a story on a presentation or on a social media post, they think they have to invent one or have perfect memory at that moment, but nobody does that.